Good evening, good evening. How everyone doing today? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma Spiritual Divine. I'm here to give you a word on today, and the topic gonna be Lee not getting what she want. Now you know that's Rachel sister. And you remember Jacob had to work 7 years to get Rachel, but he wound up and had Lee. But this is Lee's story, telling her side of the story. Um, so Lee and Rachel is sisters. Jacob wind up marrying both of them. So this story about Leah is she is the elder daughter of Laban and the wife of Jacob. Now the father of 12 sons. Now she had 12 sons for Jacob, who would become the 12 tribes of Israel. Leah also the sister of Rachel. And now see this story happened after Jacob had ran from Esau. You remember he stole Esau blessing, and so the mama told him to go by his brother house. So Lamech is already his uncle, and he wants to marry his daughter. So this happened right after he ran from home, and the mother told him to go to her brother house. So Jacob worked. So Jacob, when he got there, he immediately saw a woman that he was fine of, and that was Rachel. So he told his the uncle told him, well, if you want my daughter, you have to work 7 years. So he had to work 7 years to get Rachel, to marry her. But when the 7 years had ended, the wife he wanted was not Rachel. It was Lee, his sister, her sister. So he had to wind up. So now all this happened when Jacob mom sent him to his brother house to live. So remember, Jacob was running from his brother who wanted to kill him. So now Laban, Jacob's uncle, and he wants to marry his daughter. So when the 7 years was up, he thought he was getting so when Jacob got to Laban's house, he saw a daughter he loved and wanted to marry. So Uncle Laban said he had to wait 7 years to marry her. So he wanted Rachel. But when he thought he had a deal, so he figured that was a deal. Uncle said, well, you got to wait 7 years to marry my daughter. So Jacob thinking that was a deal, for 7 years working for Laban, to what make Rachel his wife. But Jacob was able to choose what wife he wanted. He was able to choose. So he thought he had a good deal. He chose the woman that he wanted, and he got to wait 7 years for her. So he said that was a good deal. But Jacob worked for 7 years, and when the 7 years ended, what he thought he married Rachel, but it turned out to be Leah. So he married his uncle. His uncle had tricked him. So now the uncle telling him his older daughter have to get married first, but he did not tell Jacob that at the beginning. So Jacob thought he was working 7 years for Rachel and end up, in the bed with Lee, their sister. You know, so so Lee is wind up, Lee his wife. So Lee got cheated because that's what she wanted. That's what she wanted. But Jacob wanted he wanted Rachel. His heart was with Rachel. So Jacob wanted Rachel, so he never give Leah a chance to win his heart. He never get her a chance to win his heart. And see this lead story, telling how she really had feel, with all that event had went on. She really loved it on Jacob, but Jacob heart was with her sister. So even though he wanted Rachel, he never cast Leah aside. So even though he didn't want Leah, but at the same time he did not cast her on the side. He wanted to keep her on the sideline. So he loved the Rachel. He wanted Rachel, but at the same time he didn't cast Leah on the side. He didn't tell his uncle, "Well, I don't want her." He still had her on the sideline. So when the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, see, here we go, our Almighty God. He is so compassionate. He cares for everyone. So when the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, he opened her womb. and Leah longs for Jacob love. So she thought by having sons would turn his heart towards her, but it didn't. She thought he would spend time with her and her sons, but he didn't. Leah was blessed with our fruitfulness, and she rejoiced and thanked God for each child. So even though God had a heart, God saw that Leah was not being loved. Because Jacob was so busy trying to, get Rachel. So he had to work another 7 years to get Rachel. So in between them 7 years, he still wasn't paying Leah no attention at all. And God saw that she wasn't being loved. So God opened her womb up to start having kids. So she thought that was gonna change. So you have to realize a lot of time having kids don't change a man's mind at all, because you can have all them kids and that man will dump you with all them kids and he gone somewhere else with somebody else. Because she wind up and had 12 kids for Jacob. you know, 12 kids. You remember Jacob was young after he wrestled with that angel. Remember, he saw that ladder came down, and God was telling him, "You're gonna produce numbers of stars. Because you're gonna be a nation." Because remember, Jacob is one of the twins that he's supposed to be a nation. So Leah already had 12, and down the line, Rachel gonna have Joseph and Benjamin, but that's not in the story because it's Leah's story. So but she didn't, but Leah still was blessed. Even though Jacob didn't love her, she still thanked God for the children that he blessed her with. So sometimes when we don't get what we want and what we have, we still have to tell God thank you. And that's what she did. She didn't get what she wanted. She got the man that she wanted, but his heart somewhere else. But God tried to help. God bless her with so many children. Even though she didn't get the man that she wanted, she didn't get his heart, but she still thanked God for every last one of the children that God allowed her to have. So now we see that Jacob loved Rachel and Leah had the children. So Rachel had Jacob's heart, but Leah had the children for Jacob. You remember at this time, Rachel couldn't have no children. So Rachel was jealous of Leah because she gave Jacob children and she can't have no children. So now we about to see both of them about to be jealous of each other. Now, Rachel was jealous because Leah had the children for Jacob, and she couldn't have no children. Now Leah is jealous because Rachel have Jacob's heart. Jacob really loved Rachel, and so we catching both of these women jealous of one another, and both of them is hurt in different kind of pain. So Rachel got the man. She got his heart. He loved Rachel, but Rachel could not conceive no children for Jacob. And then Leah, he don't love Leah, but Leah produced 12 kids for him. So both of these ladies is jealous of one another, and both of them is suffering different kind of pain. So we see that both women need to have what they want. So at this point, none of them have exactly what they want, because Leah have the children and Rachel have the man, but they're both not happy. They're both jealous of one another. So Leah understand that Jacob loved Rachel and not her. So Jacob settled with Leah and not cast her away. But Leah herself didn't want to settle anymore. Now, Leah finally made her mind up. She didn't give him 12 kids. He still don't pay her no attention. He still don't love her. But now she at the end of her rope. She said, Jacob settled with her. Did just like, having her on the sideline. And she just kept producing him children. And he just settled like that. But she got to a point. She didn't want to settle no more. She wanted to get out of this strange kind of marriage. So Leah wanted Jacob, but his heart was with Rachel. So Leah on the other hand, not getting what she wanted most, and was Jacob. She didn't get what she wanted the most, and was Jacob. And it's hard when you try to pursue a man when his heart is somewhere else. But I'm glad that she came to a decision that she wanted to get out of this strange marriage. So Lee learned to set aside her out of marriage. So she realized it's a sin marriage, because Jacob married to two women, and children. So Lee got to a point. She left Jacob. She left the children with him. She just left the whole family because she got at the end of her rope trying to do the best she can to have Jacob to love her, and set her sight on higher things than her circumstance. So she started wanting to start focus on herself. So she left everything behind. Because you remember down the line when Jacob had Joseph and Benjamin, and Joseph had all the rest of his brothers, all the rest of his brothers, they were for Leah. You remember she had 12 kids, and all of them were jealous of Joseph because Joseph had to dream. So that means she left all them kids with Jacob, and she just left to start focus on herself. She got tired of being in that strange marriage. So eventually Jacob realized Leah worked, her strong relationship with God. Now it was God was concerned that Lee was not being loved. We have a compassionate God. He's a man with love in his heart, and he hates to see someone else have so much love for somebody, but she wasn't receiving the love right back. So he opened her womb up to see, thought, by her having the kids would turn Jacob's heart around, but it didn't. Jacob worked another 7 years to have Rachel, the woman that he wanted. You know, so God was so compassionate. He opened her womb up for her to have children, but that didn't work because Jacob still loved Rachel. So we see here in a respect due to her as his wife, because just before he died in Egypt, so he instructed his sons, so now at the end of his death, before his death, remember he was in Egypt with Joseph, and Lee hadn't died. So in a respect of Lee. Now, he didn't show her no respect and no love while she was living, but he had enough respect before he died. He ordered her sons, to take her body and bury it to where the rest of the family is buried. So I think that was nice of Joseph to do that at the end of his death, because just before he died, he instructed his sons to bury their mother, his daddy Abraham at his grandmother Sarah, Abraham his grandfather, and Isaac his father, and Rebecca his mama. He also said bury Leah, their mother. So that was nice to him that he came to his senses at the close of his death, before his death. So now we see that Jacob respect her at the end, and that's sad. That's sad. This woman had to give respect at the end, and she tried so hard to get Jacob respect, love, and respect. And this woman died from not getting what she wanted most. But she was brave enough to walk away from a strange marriage that wasn't meaning her no good at all. And I think, and that was good for her to have faith, and be strong enough to walk away. So many of us don't get what we want the most in our personal lives, at all. Sarah she got the man, what she wanted, but when them two were tangling, she couldn't have no kids, and then Lee was able to have the kids, but she couldn't win the man's heart, so both of them didn't get exactly what they want the most, so some of us dream of a husband to love us and don't have it. Now we see that Lee was not loved. God was concerned and opened her womb. Some desired children and don't have them, but Lee had the children but not love. Rachel was loved but with no children. So either way it go, both of these women were jealous of each other. Both of them get exactly what they wanted. So Jacob wanted Rachel. Jacob wanted Rachel, but married Lee first. So Jacob, he was determined to get the woman that he wanted. He worked the 7 years to get Rachel. He ended up with Lee. So then he had to work another 7 years to get the wife that he really wanted. But he didn't care about Lee's feelings at all. So Jacob married both sisters because remember he didn't, even though he didn't want Lee, he didn't toss her on the side at all. He kept her on the sideline. Until she got to a point that she got tired of being on the sideline. She wanted to be loved. And she kept having children and children, and Jacob still didn't love her. He still wasn't even spending too much time with the kids. He was so busy focused on Sarah, on Rachel. So Jacob loved Rachel, but not Lee. Lee was not loved by Jacob, but God was concerned and allowed her to have 12 children. But Jacob still did not love her. But, Lee still told God, thank you for every child that you bless her with. Because, see, it was a blessing, for her, for God to allow her to have kids. And she thought that was going to turn Jacob around, but it didn't. So both sisters were jealous of each other. Lee decided to not settle in a strange marriage and start focus on herself and focus on something else besides her circumstances. But she still thank God for the children, So I'm glad that she came to a point, that kind of marriage that you had, no matter what you do. If a man don't love you, he not focused on you, it's best for you to be brave and strong to walk away. So I'm glad she was able to walk away, And so Lee not getting what she want most was Jacob. So she has to be strong and she walked away from the strange marriage. She not only walked away from the marriage, she left all 12 children behind. So she walked away. She left the children and she left Jacob. She left all that behind to focus on herself and what she really wanted in life. So sometimes if we don't get what we want, and what the best thing is to be strong and walk away. So I'm glad Lee was able to be strong enough, to walk away because Jacob is what she had really wanted. It what she really wanted the most. And sometime in life we don't get exactly what we want sometime in life. This is a tough world. And so a lot of time if you in a situation like that and you don't have what you really wanted in life, it's best for you to be strong, have that faith and walk away. Walk away. I'm glad she decided. She waited after 12 kids, but still no, I'm glad she got the courage to walk away from a strange marriage, that no matter what she do, Jacob's heart did not turn over to Lee, and so she was strong enough to walk away. And so that was Lee's story, how she felt in that process of Jacob working 7 years, and got her first and had to work 7 years, because at the end of at the end of the ceremony, he didn't realize it wasn't Rachel. It was Lee. The daddy tricked him, so he in the bed, and then soon as he turned, it was Lee. And just like Lee said, she been crushed and she been tricked also because her daddy didn't even tell her, it was a trick. She thinking the daddy saying you're gonna marry Jacob, so she thinking it's a happy after, and all the while she been tricked along as Jacob being tricked. So that's Lee's story, how she felt about the whole situation, that she didn't get what she had wanted the most, and she had to be strong enough to walk away something that she loved that wasn't really benefiting her at all. So I hope y'all have a blessed day, and I'm gonna see y'all on the next video.